Hello and welcome back. In the previous tutorial, I showed you how to create a new project, how to add a schematic file and a PCB file, and then finally we added a few of the components from our component library. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a schematic library of your own. For example, we want to create a circuit like this. We have a 44-volt source DC, and I want to create a regulator, adjustable regulator, a fixed regulator of 5 and 12 volt. So for the upcoming tutorials, this will be our target schematic. So before going into schematic, we need to have a library with the schematic components of these capacitors, resistors, and the regulator ICs. So if we want to proceed, let me select all of these components and press delete so I can have a clear space. Here on the right, as I said in the previous tutorial, we have two options. One is the property tab and the other is the component tab. In the component tab, we have certain libraries here, and we can select a particular library and then we can drag and drop a component from that particular library. And if you want to add a custom library, the first thing we need to know is, if we have a library file, how to add them is you can come to this file-based libraries preferences, and here you can see the list here. The two libraries, schematic libraries, are already added here. And for example, I uncheck this one and press close, and here if I come and try to select, here now we only have the miscellaneous devices. Previously there were two of the libraries. Now I can do it again, file based libraries, and let me check this library again, press close, and now here you can see in the list the miscellaneous connector and miscellaneous devices too. So if we have a custom library, we can add that library here, and once we add our library, we will see the components here. Components will be listed here, and we can just drag and drop into our schematic. Alright, so now I want to create a library of my own, so that the components, as I said, in required, and the components that I required here, the resistors, capacitors, and the regulator ICs, I want to create a schematic for each of these guys. So let's get started. To create a new schematic library, I'll go to new, to file, new, and then to libraries. I'll select here the schematic library. So once I click the schematic library, it will automatically jump to the editor window of schematic editor. Okay, here I can edit a schematic symbol. Alright, this one is different from the schematic. The schematic where we built our circuit, this is different from that. Right, here you'll see the two black lines crossing each other to show you a center. On the left, okay, one more thing before discussing this part, that you can see here in the project hierarchy, you can see that in addition to sources, source documents, like here were source documents like schematic, test PCB. In addition to that, now we have a library folder. The library folder has a schematic library document, and if we create another one, PCB library, so we'll also have under the library section, we'll also have a PCB library. So now we have a schematic library. So if you somehow if you close it by accident, you can come here and double click this guy and open it again. Right, so now we look back to the schematic library. Here on the bottom you can see now there's an additional tab, like it was before. It was project, navigator, and now we have the schematic library tab. Here you can double click. This is the component that we are about to add. So you can double click it. You just click it and you'll see that the properties of this guy appears in the property panel. In the properties panel you can assign the different attributes. For example, the first thing you can assign to it is the uh, design item ID. It will be the name that will appear on that will appear in your library. For example, it should be a name that pops up. So you can easily identify your component out of many. For example, let me put it like LM7805 for instance. Alright, so the designator is a unique ID that is assigned to during a schematic. For example, let me point out this thing. For example, I am dragging and dropping a component here. So here the designator is Q, and if I drag and drop another one, it is also Q, and you can see this red line. It shows that both the designators are the same. So you can go to then the properties and you'll change one of them to, let's say, Q1, and you'll change the other, for example, to Q2. Right. So so the comment the second guy can be the same. Okay, that's just represent what is that's the identity of your uh, device. But the first, that should be a unique number, a unique character, as keyword that differentiate one from the other. Alright, so now back to the schematic symbol, and here let me use the designator U, and I'll also put a question mark to catch your site that you need to assign a number instead of you need to replace this question mark. Alright, and I'll just put a comment that it's a regulator. So regulator IC. Okay, that's just to for beginners. So if someone don't know what's this guy, maybe if you forget in future that what is this for, so it will give you an idea. Right, so that's the settings we need, and now we need to build a schematic symbol. So the schematic symbol I'm going to build is using first a graphic components. For example, I want to use a rectangle. So I'll choose out of these different options, line and arc. I'll use just rectangle. Please notice that if you single click these options from this quick access toolbar, if I single click left click, I'll just choose a line. Okay, that will set a line. But if I click and hold, the other option will pops up, and I can select the rectangle. So that's how I can select a rectangle. Now I can put it somewhere, and then first left click, and then I can choose the size based upon the grid. Okay, you can see it's snapping to the grid. Right, so it depends on your grid. You can set a size of this rectangle, and let me set it to a value like, okay, it's again, if I want to draw another one, you can still see that shadow with the cursor. So I'll just press escape in order to get rid of it. Alright, now I want to show you something else, that the grid size here is 100 mil. Mil is another kind of unit of measurement of distance, and in addition to millimeter you can also use mil. You can toggle between these two units by going into view and toggle units. You can see now the grid is 2.5 mm. Okay, you can choose a unit 100 mil, and you can click again to change toggle the grid, the grid unit. Alright, now the another thing that the short key I want to show you is that you can change the grid size, the snap grid size from here. First from here, cycle snap grid, that is the short key is G, as you can see here. The short key for changing this snap grid is G. So as I press G, have a look, it changes to 10, 50, 100. It changes from 10 to 50 and then 100. So now it's 10, and you'll see that I can move it with an increment of 10 mil, and if I change it to 50, it snaps. The only two options I have is in the middle and then exactly at the line. So you need to consider the units here and the snap grid in order to have your symbol more clear. So the first thing you need to do is to give it a shape, give your symbol a shape. So I give it a rectangular shape. Now the important thing is I need to add some pins. Okay, as you can see from the schematic symbol here, I need to have 3 pins for a regulator. One will be the input, the ground, and then we have the output. Okay, pin 1, 2 and 3. I need 3 pins here. So here place pin is the option here. You can also go to place and pin. Okay, you can choose whatever way you like. Okay, so you can see my cursor have a pin connected, and wherever I click it will just snap there. Okay, so I'll just put it here. Now the pin, another pin goes here, and using the space key bar I can change, I can rotate the pin. Okay, please notice that this cross here, the cross means that this is the point that's going to be connected to the external circuit. Okay, so this cross should be should be at the output side. It should not be at the input side. It should not be this way. Okay, it should be this way, because this cross will be connected to the external circuit. So I'll put it like this, and when I'm done I'll just right click and no more placement. Okay, please notice that I have this pin number 2, I have connected it, I have placed it the wrong way. I can just drag it and then use space to rotate it. Okay, now you can see the a little bit this kind of this white kind of notation. Okay, that represents that this should be at the output side for the connection. Okay, so once we have all the pins here, and we need to just verify that is it in the right way. No, pin number 1 should be on at the input, pin number 2 should be the ground, and 3 is the output. So I need to just renumber these pins. I can click the pin and then come to the property panel, and it should be 1. The designator should be 1. And in order to be clear about what this pin is for, I'll type in the name of the pin. Okay, like this is the input, so I'll just type in input. Similarly, here I'll just designate this pin as, back to the, it's 3, so I'll just type in 3 and press enter, and then the name of this pin is the output. Now back to the pin number 2. That's pin number 2, and pin number 2 is the ground pin, right? So that's how we can modify things from the property panel. The other thing is, you can see that the length of these terminals are, as I can see, is quite long, and it will make trouble when we put them in circuits, because we need to respect this length when we put them in circuit. So for that we need to reduce the length of this pin. We can do it here, pin length from the properties panel. I'll just set it to 100 mil. Okay, maybe 100 is okay. And similarly here, I'll just select the 2 and 3 together, and I can modify their length. Alright, so that's how we can modify the properties of these pins. So once the pins are done, means that this schematic symbol is ready. Okay, so another thing I want to show you, that you can also make this name of this pin visible or invisible. For example, you can use this I symbol. You can make this invisible if you don't like it. For example, the orientation, because of the orientation, let's say I don't like it, and instead of that I want to place a string here. Okay, so if I click on this string in the property, I can change the text. I'll just type in G and D and just press enter, and now I have added an additional, and change the color from here. I have added an additional string, and I have made this actual name of the pin as invisible. Okay, so now that's much better to me. So once this is done, I can save it. Just right click, save this schematic library 1. I'll just save, and I'll give it a name. Let me name it regulator library. Okay, so now I have saved this library. Okay, now back to this project. I can also save my project here. I mentioned in the previous lecture, in the previous tutorial, you can just save these individuals as individual, and you can also save all documents. It will save all of them together. All right, now we have created one of these schematic component. So if we want to add another component here, for example, in this project, I need a resistor. Here we need a resistor. So to add a resistor, let me get back to the schematic library, and here I'm going to press this add option, and it will ask me what is the design ID for the new component. So I'm going to call it a resistor. I'll call it a resistor. So now here you can see in this list that in addition to LM7805, we also have a resistor here. Okay, and the other thing, you can just click to open the component. You can the other thing I want to say, you can also make it generic from LM7805 to LM7812, for example, or even 15. You can make it generic, so you can use the same symbol not only for the LM7805 but also for 012, for 112, 7812, 7815. So that makes your life easier. And okay, so let's move to the resistor. So here you can make things the way you like. For example, if you want to create that zigzag shape, right, that's up to you. You can make that zigzag resistor, and the other way you can do is you can create a rectangle. Create a rectangle, and now after creating a rectangle I can put a pin here, and since the connection side is at the bottom, I'll just press the space key bar and I can now adjust it. Alright, similarly I'll move it, I'll rotate the other guy and I'll place it here. Okay, so just press escape to finish. I can reduce the length of these guys. It's 300, I can set them to 100. And the second thing I can do here is just hide the, oops, what did I, okay, I made accidentally 1100. Alright, now better. I'll just hide the name of these pins. Alright, they're gone. And even the designator, but I'll designate them something basic like 1 and this one 2. Okay, please note that this doesn't matter as long as you assign designator to different components. For example, the 1 and 2 and 3 that we assign to here, it's not going to mix up with the 1 and 2 here. Alright, it's local to only this component, so it doesn't make any trouble. Okay, so you can change the borders of this guy, you can make it wider, you can make the width, and you can change the colors like this. Okay, so you can play with that, and this is your schematic of your resistor. You can also save it, and that's another component we have built here. Similarly, we can create a schematic symbol of capacitor, and here we will need one of them will be a polar and the other is going to be a non-polar capacitor. And okay, for the resistor I didn't set the designator. I'll just and here I'll just put the comment as resistor. Alright, so that's it. I'll just save again. Now if I need another component, for example the capacitor, I'll just add new, and I'll have capacitor, use the non-polar. Okay, so you can see it's going to the Altium Designer automatically organize them in alphabetic order. So now non-polar capacitor is on the top. I can again start with line here. I'll draw a line here, and another line here, and I'll just change the color to blue. Right, and now we'll put a pin here and a pin here. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to designate this as 1, and name is also 1. I'll hide the pin number, one set, and here I'll put 2. The name is 2, and I'll hide them too. And I'll just reduce the length of the pins to 100. Okay, so that's our polar capacitor, and I can now save. Now I can add the non-polar capacitor. This is me cap and the polar one, and I'll just use a straight line here, and then I'll use an arc here. Oops. Alright, so I made that upside down. I can just rotate it and place it here, and just choose the color as blue. Now again I can choose the pin, place it here, and rotate this one with the shift key, and I'll reduce the length to 100 mil, and then it'll I'll just hide the pin number in the name. Okay, so I've just created this little library with the resistor, having resistor, regulator IC, polar and non-polar capacitor. Okay, so once done, I can close this library, and if I need to make any change, no problem. I can just double click this guy, and the library once again will pop up. And if you need to go to those options, you can see here in the bottom schematic library tab, then you can double click, single click, sorry, and you can come here. Oops, I forgot to give it a name, a designator, C and cap. Okay, so yeah, also I forgot to. So once done, I can save and close. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this tutorial, I can just delete these guys. I can go to this component tab, and now you can see that my library, regulated library, it's already here because it's inside the project. Okay, so in this case I don't need to add them, but the case if you have integrated library, you have created an integrated library which is normally not part of a project, then for that case you need to go to the file-based preferences and browse to your location, select that integrated library and check here. If it's unchecked, you can just check here. Since this guy is connected, you can see the project library. This is actually the project library, so it would already be added here. So you can select, and now you can see the nice thing here that they are added in our components tab panel, and I can just drag and drop. For example, I have dragged here the LM78. I see, oops, here resistor quite big, and similarly I can drag and drop the capacitor, non-polar capacitor, and that's it. I have created these components. I can then set the properties of these guys. Just go to select and go to the properties panel, and let's say this is U1, and you can see the designator changes to U1. Similarly, I can call it R1 and it becomes R1. Similarly, I can change this guy to C1. You have a look that both the C's, since both have C as their designator. So if I click one of them and change the designator to C1, okay, the red line vanishes. Similarly, I can now designate this as C2. Alright, so that's how you can create a schematic library. You can manually add your drawing symbols, but the important thing is you need to add pins to these components, and these pins got their designator of their own. Alright, so with that said, I'll just sign out and we'll come up with a new tutorial on PCB library. Okay, in addition to schematic library, we need a PCB library. Here you can see that we don't have any footprint. Okay, you can see we don't have any footprint, so we can create a schematic library, but if we don't have a footprint of these guys, we cannot use them for the PCB. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add, how to create a PCB library, and then how to connect that footprint to your schematic. So, so I'll see you in the next video.